Well, grab a seat, because I'm about to blow your mind. If you've got a 1988 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny just lying around, you might want to check your couch cushions a little more carefully, because this little copper coin could be worth a whole lot more than you think. Yes, I said millions. Now before you run off to search through your piggy bank, let's take a deep dive into why this very penny, could be worth up to $2.5 million. Stick around, because I've got a hilarious personal story at the end that ties everything together, and trust me, you'll want to hear it. First things first, let's talk about what makes a penny. Well, a penny. The 1988 penny was minted in massive quantities, over 7 billion of them. But the real magic happens when you start looking for specific errors. So, what's the deal with the 1988 D Mint Mark penny that could make it so valuable? Host switches to a zoomed-in shot of the penny with a magnifying glass on screen. Most 1988 pennies are pretty much worth 1 cent. That's the face value, right? But hold on to your hats. There's a rare variation of the 1988 D penny where the mint mark, the little D stamp on the coin, is off-center or misaligned. Why does that matter? Because when a coin is minted, it's supposed to have a clean, crisp stamp with a nice, centered mint mark. But when the minting process messes up, well, now you've got a collectible error coin on your hands. See how these are perfectly aligned? No good. But check this out. This is the jackpot. If you find a penny with that off-center mint mark, you've stumbled onto something special. Now, the million-dollar question. How much is it actually worth? Let's break it down. If you find one of these bad boys in good condition with that off-center mint mark, it could be worth anywhere from $500 to $2,500. Nowhere near the million-dollar mark just yet. But hey, that's still a pretty good haul for a penny. But here's the kicker. If you find a 1988 D penny that's in exceptional condition and has a significant minting error, it could fetch, wait for it, $2.5 million at auction. I'm never gonna find one of those. But hey, if you don't look, you'll never know, right? You know, this reminds me of a story. A few years ago, I was at a garage sale, just browsing around, not expecting much. Then, I spotted this old jar of coins sitting on a dusty shelf. The lady selling it didn't even know what she had. I asked her how much, and she said, "Oh, just a couple bucks." Of course, I paid her for it, thinking I was getting a bunch of old quarters and nickels. When I got home, I started flipping through the coins, and lo and behold, I found an old, worn-down penny that looked different. I had no idea what I was looking at the time, but something about that penny felt special. Long story short, it wasn't worth millions or anything, don't get too excited. But it did teach me one important thing. Never underestimate a coin, no matter how small it seems. You just never know when you'll stumble upon a treasure. Coin collecting is about the thrill of the hunt, and every time you check your change, you're one step closer to finding that hidden gem. Who knows? Your next trip to the store could land you a coin that's worth thousands, or even millions. All right, folks, I hope I've convinced you to dig through your change jar and check those pennies before you toss them. If you find something special, don't just pocket it, do some research. You could be sitting on a small fortune without even realizing it. And if you happen to find that rare 1988 D penny with that perfect error, well, I'll be really jealous. But seriously, this world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and if you want more tips on how to spot valuable coins, strategies for building your collection, or just a good old-fashioned treasure hunt, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. I'll be back soon with more tips to help you turn your change into cash. Alright, I need you to stop whatever you're doing. Stop scrolling, stop watching cat videos, and grab that jar of change you've been tossing coins into for years. Why? Because that penny you thought was just a penny could actually be a gold mine. Seriously, there's a 1980 D Abraham Lincoln penny out there that's worth a whopping $2.6 million. No joke. So let's talk about this elusive little penny, its insane value, and how you could potentially stumble upon one. Stick with me, this is about to get interesting, and a little funny too. So let's dive right in. The 1980 D penny. It might look like any other coin in your change jar, right? Wrong. This little guy has caused quite a stir in the world of numismatics. Fancy word for coin collecting. Don't worry, I had to Google it too. See, This penny has a very rare and very specific error that makes it incredibly valuable. We're talking about an example that sold for $2.6 million. Yes, million. Now, I don't know about you, but if I found a $2.6 million penny in my pocket, I'd probably faint, then buy a whole bunch of new pockets and maybe a yacht. Alright, so what makes this 1980 D penny so special? It's a very rare case of what's known as a double die obverse. That's just a fancy way of saying that when the coin was stamped, there was a double impression. This means Abraham Lincoln's face might look a little blurry, or even have some extra lines that shouldn't be there. And in the case of the $2.6 million penny, that extra detail is exactly what made it so valuable to collectors. Great, I've got a change jar full of pennies, but what are the odds that I have one of these $1 million coins? Well, they're pretty slim, but not impossible. But I'll be honest, the odds of finding a 1980 D penny in good condition with that specific error are like winning the lottery. But hey, somebody's gotta win, right? When you're going through your change jar, look for those pennies from the 80s, particularly the 1980 DS. If they look slightly off or have some weird markings, don't toss them. Check them out closely. You can grab a magnifying glass or even use your phone's camera to get a good look. The double die error on these pennies is usually most noticeable on Lincoln's cheek or around the date, so be on the lookout for those. Because you never know. You could be sitting on a coin worth millions, and wouldn't that be a nice surprise? I'm just saying, I would trade all my pennies for a shot at finding one of these rare beauties. So, let's talk about what happens if you do find one of these $1 million pennies. First, don't try to sell it on eBay just yet. You'll want to get it authenticated by a professional coin grader, someone who can confirm that it's the real deal and not just a worn-out penny that got stamped twice for fun. And trust me, getting a professional opinion on your coin can really help maximize its value. Once you get the seal of approval, you can either sell it privately to a collector or auction it off through one of the big auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers Galleries. The $2.6 million sale? That happened at an auction house, so this isn't just a fantasy. Okay, let me share a quick story. A few years ago, I was going through some change I had sitting around. I thought, I might find a cool coin or two. I didn't expect much. But then, I found this one penny that was older than I thought, like a 1940-something penny. I checked it out, and there was a tiny little mint mark, which was cool, but not worth a fortune. So I decided to sell it, and guess what? I made a whole $5. $5. Not $2.6 million, but hey, $5 is $5. I bought a coffee with that. Point is, you never know what you'll find in your pocket change, and while you might not find the $2.6 million penny, you might still find something worth a nice chunk of change. I'll take $5 over a coffee, any day. So, to wrap things up, check your coins, specifically the 1980 D pennies, for that rare double die error. It could just be the jackpot you've been waiting for. But hey, even if you don't find a $2.6 million penny, it's still worth learning about the world of coins and how valuable they can be. After all, pennies add up. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more tips on coins worth money, strategies for finding valuable coins, and even a few stories about my own attempts at striking it rich with pocket change. Who knows, maybe your next coin hunt will land you a fortune. Let's talk about a penny, but not just any penny. I'm talking about the 1992 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Now, you might be thinking, why are we talking about a penny? Isn't that like finding a needle in a haystack? Well, strap in, because you might be sitting on a small fortune and not even know it. Yep, you heard that right. This little copper coin has a value of $2.7 million. And no, I didn't mix up my numbers with a lottery jackpot. This is real life. But how can a simple penny be worth more than most houses? Let's dive in and find out. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for this one, alright? Let's break it down. You're probably staring at the pennies you have lying around in your pocket, thinking, is this the one? Well, don't rush to sell your whole jar of loose change just yet. To understand why the 1992 D penny is worth a whopping $2.7 million, we need to dig into a couple of things. The 1992 D penny. It's a part of the regular run of pennies minted in 1992 at the Denver Mint. If you grab one right now, it'll have Abraham Lincoln's face staring back at you. Looks like just another penny, right? Well, hold on, there's more. The reason this specific penny is worth so much has to do with a little thing called a double die. And no, I'm not talking about a pair of dice you use to play Monopoly. A double die is a mistake that happens during the minting process. It's when the coin is struck more than once, causing the design to appear doubled or shifted on the coin. This error creates a unique, valuable coin that collectors and investors go crazy for. Well, let me tell you, finding a 1992 D penny with a double die is like finding a four-leaf clover. It's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of deal. And since this error didn't happen on every penny minted, it's extremely rare. So rare, in fact, that the lucky person who found one recently sold it for $2.7 million. I know, right? This penny went from being part of your standard change jar to a millionaire-making coin. You might be wondering, how do I know if I've got one of these rare gems? Well, don't worry, I've got you covered. First, look at the date and mint mark. You're looking for a 1992 D penny, so that D mint mark needs to be visible on the coin. Next, check out the lettering. The Liberty and In God We Trust inscriptions should appear slightly doubled. The key here is that the doubling will be noticeable if you look closely. And don't worry, I'm not saying you need to bust out a magnifying glass, unless you want to get real technical, but a good, focused eye should be able to spot it. I remember the first time I came across a coin that I thought could be worth something. It was just a regular 1980-something penny, but I was convinced it was special. I spent days researching it, looking at every tiny detail, making sure it wasn't a trick of the light. Long story short, it wasn't anything rare. But that feeling of thinking you found gold? Priceless. So when you find a coin like this, trust me, it's an adrenaline rush. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Is there a chance that I've got one of these pennies? Well, you might. It's possible. The best part about this hobby is that you don't need a giant bankroll to get started. All you need is a little time, some curiosity, and of course, some pennies lying around. So, here's the deal. You might just have a $2.7 million penny hiding in your pocket or under the couch cushions, and you didn't even know it. The 1992 D Lincoln penny with that elusive double die error is a rare and valuable coin that collectors are drooling over. But if you're not sure if you've got one, don't worry. Just take a look, compare the details, and see if you're sitting on a hidden treasure. And hey, if you found this video helpful and you want to keep learning about coins worth money, then make sure to hit that subscribe button. I've got loads more tips, tricks, and coin strategies to share with you, and trust me, you won't want to miss out on the next episode where we dig into even more rare finds. Because who knows, the next gold mine could be just around the corner. Right in your spare change jar. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, whether it's pennies, nickels, or dimes, you never know when a small coin can turn into big cash. Imagine digging through your spare change jar, pulling out a penny, and thinking, just another copper coin? But wait, what if I told you that one 1988 penny, yes, the one you probably overlooked, could be worth a mind-blowing $2.8 million? You heard me right. So, grab your magnifying glass and let's dive into the mysterious world of rare pennies that could make you a millionaire without you even realizing it. I remember a time when I found an old penny in the parking lot. I picked it up and without much thought, tossed it in my coin jar. Just another penny, right? Well, if I had only known back then that certain pennies could be worth millions, I'd be retired by now, probably on a beach somewhere, sipping a cocktail with my newfound fortune. But hey, better late than never, right? So, let's talk about this incredibly rare 1988 no-mint mark penny. Could it be lurking in your wallet or, more likely, your grandma's old coin collection? Stay tuned, because we're about to uncover the hidden value of this rare penny and how to spot it. All right, let's break this down. The 1988 Lincoln penny is a coin most of us have seen and passed around at some point in our lives. You know, it's just a penny with good old Abe on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Nothing too special, right? Some of these 1988 pennies were minted without the tiny mint mark you usually see on the reverse side. Normally, you'll find a mint mark like a D for Denver or S for San Francisco that tells you where the coin was produced. But the 1988 penny with no mint mark? That's what makes it so rare. and valuable. Now, don't go thinking every 1988 penny is worth millions. This is a very, very specific error. The lack of a mint mark on some 1988 pennies means it slipped through the cracks in the minting process and made it out into the world. Just a little mistake with a huge payoff if you find one. So, why the $2.8 million price tag? Well, here's the thing. Because this penny is an error coin, it's an incredibly rare find. We're talking about a single-digit number of them actually existing, and they've been sought after by collectors and investors alike. Coin collectors are obsessed with these error coins because they are the holy grails of the numismatic world. The value of error coins like this one skyrockets due to their rarity and historical importance. Think about it like finding a mistake in a famous painting or a signed first edition book. If you're lucky enough to find one of these elusive 1988 no-mint mark pennies, you could be looking at a small fortune. Finding one of these pennies is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. They're so rare that many people still don't even know they exist. Alright, so how do you know if you have one of these elusive pennies? Great question. First off, check the reverse side of your 1988 penny. Look closely. If there's no mint mark, meaning no D or S stamped on it, then you might be holding onto a gold mine. Now, don't go digging through every penny you own just yet. You still need to check for other factors. You want the coin to be in good condition. The more pristine, the better. A worn-out penny, even if it's a no-mint mark error, won't fetch you much. Ideally, these coins should be in mint condition to achieve top dollar. Take it to a professional. Get it appraised by a coin expert or a numismatist. They'll know exactly what to look for and whether your penny could be the next big thing. Spoiler alert. If they start sweating, you might be sitting on a gold mine. Here's a funny little story. I remember I once had a buddy, let's call him Mike, who found an old penny in his car seat. He almost threw it out, thinking it was just a typical coin. But then, he noticed something odd. It had no mint mark. Mike, being the curious type, decided to get it appraised. He ended up getting it graded and auctioned off for over $100,000. Now, I'm not saying you'll become an overnight millionaire like Mike, who's now constantly checking his pocket change, but it does go to show that sometimes the most mundane things, like an old penny, can turn out to be worth a fortune. Just goes to show, you never know what's hiding in your change jar. So, there you have it. The 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. An incredibly rare coin that could potentially be worth up to $2.8 million if you're lucky enough to find one. While not every 1988 penny is going to make you a millionaire, it's always worth keeping an eye on your change, because you just never know when something rare and valuable might pop up. Make sure to check that coin for condition, and if you think you've found a real gem, get it appraised by a pro. You don't want to miss out on your chance to turn pocket change into big money. And hey, if you're into discovering hidden treasures like this, or just want more tips on coins worth money, make sure to subscribe to this channel. I'll be back with more coin tips and strategies to help you cash in on those hidden gems in your collection. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll catch you in the next one. Hopefully with a few more valuable coins in your pocket. You know, we've all heard the saying, a penny saved is a penny earned. But what if I told you a single penny could be worth a whole lot more than just 1 cent? I'm talking about a coin that's worth millions. Yes, millions. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, stick around because today, we're diving into the wild world of the 2017 D-Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny, and trust me, you're going to want to hear this, so grab your magnifying glass, hold on to your wallets, and let's get started. Alright, folks, let's break this down. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can a penny, the coin that most of us toss aside without a second thought, possibly be worth anything near millions? Well, buckle up, because this is where it gets interesting. The 2017 D-Mint Mark penny is not your average coin. In fact, it's so rare that it's currently worth around $2.9 million. Yeah, you heard me right. That's nearly $3 million for a penny. If you found one of these, you could pay off your mortgage, your car loan, and maybe even get that yacht you've always wanted. But before you start rifling through every penny in your jar, let's talk about why this particular coin is so valuable. It all comes down to a combination of a few factors: rarity, a minting error, and the fact that it caught the eyes of collectors. You see, Most pennies from 2017 are your standard, everyday coins. But some 2017 D pennies, minted in Denver, were struck with a weird error. There's a noticeable doubling of the design on the coin, particularly around Lincoln's chest and his coat. This is a mintage error that's super rare and, as you might guess, makes this penny a hot commodity in the coin collecting world. Now, don't go thinking you're going to find one of these coins just laying around on the street. The chances are slim. In fact, most of us are lucky to find anything more valuable than a 1998 penny with a small scratch on it. But for those lucky few who have found one of these rare 2017 D pennies in their pocket change, well, they're sitting on a small fortune. It's not just about finding the coin, it's about how well it's preserved. A coin in perfect condition will obviously fetch more money, but it also needs to be verified by a reputable grading service, like the folks over at the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC. If you've got one of these rare coins, you can bet collectors and investors alike are going to be lined up, ready to pay top dollar for it. Now, I know what you're thinking again. This sounds like one of those fairy tale stories that we only hear about once in a while. A $2.9 million penny? Where's the catch? Well, to be honest, there's no catch. It's just that these coins are incredibly rare and sought after. If you find one, you've hit the jackpot. But there's also a lesson in this for all of us, and here's my personal story to tie it all together. So, I've been collecting coins for a while now. Nothing major, just a hobby. But one day, I was digging through my change jar, and I found a penny that looked a little different. It wasn't anything crazy, just a small error in the minting. At first, I thought, probably just a normal mistake. Nothing to write home about. But I kept it anyway. Long story short, that little penny ended up being worth more than I thought. Though not $2.9 million, I'll admit. Still, it sold for a pretty decent amount at an auction. And that, my friends, taught me one thing. Always take a second look at those useless coins. You never know when you might strike gold. That's why I'm sharing this with you today. So many of us overlook coins without thinking twice. But who knows? You might have a rare gem hiding in your pocket change or buried in your coin jar at home. So, let's wrap this up. The 2017 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny is a prime example of how one tiny coin can be worth a fortune if it's got the right minting error and happens to be in the right condition. If you ever come across one, make sure you don't just toss it in a drawer somewhere. Get it checked out by a professional and see if you've got a little piece of history that could make you a small fortune. Before I go, I want to encourage you to keep your eyes peeled when you're digging through your change and don't underestimate the power of a good old penny. Who knows? That penny you pick up off the floor could be your ticket to an early retirement. And hey, if you found this video helpful, entertaining, or even just a bit mind-blowing, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'll be sharing more tips on coins worth money, collecting strategies, and of course, more stories about unexpected finds. Because trust me, there's more where this came from. Alright, folks, hold on to your change jars, because today we're talking about something that could turn your pocket change into a small fortune. Now, when you think about rare coins, you probably think of shiny gold pieces or those really old silver coins with the eagle on them. But what if I told you there's a penny, yes, a penny, from 1991 that's worth, wait for it, $1 million? Crazy, right? I know, it's hard to believe, but stick around because we're going to dive into this fascinating coin, its value, and how it went from a regular penny to $1 million treasure. And no, this isn't some clickbait nonsense. There's a real market for this coin. Trust me, you'll want to know all about it. Alright, let's rewind a little bit. We've all probably been at the gas station, or maybe the grocery store, and you've gotten a penny as change. You know, that one copper disc that's basically useless except maybe to fill a jar or throw at a wishing well. But what if I told you one of those pennies, from 1991, no less, is worth way more than a penny? In fact, it's worth around $1 million. Mind-blowing, right? So, here's the story. In 1991, the U.S. Mint was cranking out coins for circulation, including the Abraham Lincoln penny, which is no surprise. We see Lincoln's face on pennies all the time. But something weird happened that year. Some of those pennies, a very small number, were made with no mint mark. Now, for those of you who don't know what a mint mark is, it's that little letter you'll find on most coins, usually under the date, showing where the coin was made. Philly, Denver, San Francisco, they all have different mint marks. But in 1991, for a tiny, minuscule batch, they forgot to add the mint mark to the penny. And because these mint marks are crucial for tracking coins, that little mistake turned the 1991 penny into one of the rarest and most valuable pennies in the world. Now, I know what you're thinking, but it's just a penny. How could it possibly be worth $1 million? Well, remember, rarity equals value. The mint mark is a key feature collectors look for when they're hunting for rare coins. Without that mark, this penny is like a secret treasure hidden in plain sight. There were only a few of these unmarked pennies made in 1991, and since they weren't meant to be out there, no one really knew about them until years later. Fast forward to today, and these bad boys can fetch up to $1 million at auction. That's right, a single penny could make you a millionaire. Now, I've got to tell you, I didn't find one of these pennies myself, but let me share a quick story. A few years ago, I was sorting through some change I had thrown into a jar, and I found a 1991 penny. Naturally, I thought, hey, this could be my jackpot. But after checking it out, I realized it had the mint mark, so no $1 million payday for me. But it got me thinking about how many of us have those rare coins lying around without even knowing it. Anyway, if you're lucky enough to have a 1991 penny with no mint mark, congratulations. You might want to get it appraised ASAP. But here's the thing, folks, there are other coins out there worth a lot of money too. And the key to cashing in is knowing what to look for. So, let's break down how you can check your pennies and start spotting rare gems. Take a close look at the date. If it's a 1991 penny, check underneath the date to see if there's a mint mark. If it's blank, that's your jackpot right there. But be careful. Make sure it's a true unmarked penny, and not just a worn-out one where the mint mark faded. Also, pay attention to the condition of the coin. Coins in better condition, especially uncirculated coins, tend to be worth a lot more. So, if it's been in a jar, tossed around in your car, or played with by your kids, it might not bring in $1 million, but it's still good to know what you've got. So, there you have it. The 1991 no mint mark penny might just be the treasure you didn't know you had. And hey, even if you don't have one of these rare pennies, don't get discouraged. There are so many coins out there worth money, and the more you know, the better your chances of finding a hidden gem. Now, before you run off and start checking your pockets and piggy banks for those pennies, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I've got tons more tips and tricks on rare coins and money-making strategies coming your way. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on learning about more coins that could be worth way more than you think. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Go ahead, check those pennies, and who knows? Maybe you'll find $1 million coin just waiting to be discovered. Catch you in the next video, and remember, keep an eye on your change. It might be worth more than you think. Have you ever found an old penny lying around in your couch cushions and for a split second thought, what if this thing is worth $1 million? Well, buckle up, because today, we're talking about one lucky penny that actually fits that bill. The 2006 D-Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Yep, you heard that right, a penny worth more than most of our cars. Trust me, you're going to want to know what makes this tiny copper circle so valuable. Now, before we get too excited and start raiding our spare change jars, let's dive into what makes this penny so special. First off, we've all heard the saying, find a penny, pick it up, and all day you'll have good luck. But I've got a twist on that saying for you. Find a 2006 D-Mint Mark Lincoln penny, and you might just find yourself a small fortune. So what's the big deal about the 2006 D-Mint Mark penny? Well, it turns out there's a rare variety of this penny that was struck with a minting error. In short, this error makes the coin ridiculously rare and worth a whopping $1.1 million. Yes, I said million. That's not a typo, my friends. In fact, it's not just some coin you can toss into a jar of pennies and forget about. This is a coin that could have you living your best life, if you're lucky enough to find one. Let's break it down a bit. You see, the 2006 D penny was meant to have a specific design, a nice, standard Lincoln memorial on the reverse side. But here's where it gets interesting. A small number of these coins were struck with a double die error. Now, if you're like me, you might have just thought, okay, a double die error. Is that a good thing? Like double the fun? Well, yes and no. The double die means that the coin's design is more prominent than it should be, giving the coin a unique look, almost like a stamp that was pressed down twice. And this particular error can make a coin worth a lot of money. You know how we all have that one friend who always messes up their order at a restaurant, but somehow they end up with extra fries? Well, that double die error is like getting those extra fries, but instead of fries, it's an extra chunk of value on your coin. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this sounds great, but how can I find one of these bad boys? Let me tell you, I've been in the same boat. A while ago, I was cleaning out my junk drawer. Yes, the one filled with old batteries, paper clips, and random receipts from 2017. And I found a few pennies that looked, well, a little too shiny. After doing some research, I realized one of them was a 2006 penny, and for a moment, I started daydreaming about my new mansion and private jet. Spoiler alert, mine wasn't the right one. But I didn't give up. That's the spirit of a true collector. Now, to track down this valuable coin, you'll need to pay attention to the condition of the coin, the double die error, and of course, the mint mark. If you happen to have a 2060 penny with that extra stamp design, congratulations, you might have just hit the jackpot. But, like I said, don't get your hopes up just because you found a shiny penny in your pocket. The good ones, the ones worth over $1 million, are super rare. We're talking needle in a haystack rare. You might find a 2060 penny that's still worth more than face value, maybe a few bucks. But if you're looking for the big money, keep those eyes peeled for that special double die variety. If you've got a 2006 mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny in your possession, do yourself a favor and take a closer look. It might just be the treasure you've been unknowingly hoarding. And if it turns out you don't have the lucky penny, don't worry. There are plenty of other valuable coins out there waiting to be discovered. If you enjoyed this coin hunt and want to learn more tips and tricks on finding valuable coins, strategies for spotting those rare errors, and how to make the most out of your collection, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Who knows? The next video might just feature the rare coin that changes your life. Have you ever looked at a penny and thought, wow, this little piece of copper could be worth a fortune one day? Well, buckle up because today, we're diving into one of the most shocking and mind-blowing coin stories ever. The 1973 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Yep, you heard me right, a penny that could potentially be worth a whopping $1.2 million. And no, I didn't mix up my numbers or time travel into a future coin market. We're talking about something very real today. A penny? For $1 million? Someone must have eaten too much pizza before writing that. But trust me, this is not a joke. This little guy has a huge value, and in this video, I'm going to tell you how it happened, why it's worth so much, and how you might just have one hiding in your jar of loose change. So, stick around because by the end of this video, you'll be looking at your pocket change a little differently. And hey, if you find one of these pennies in your wallet, you might just want to call your bank, your aunt, and maybe even your grandma, because this could be life-changing. Let's get into it. First off, you're probably wondering, what the heck is a 1973 no-mint mark penny? Good question. Every coin minted in the US is supposed to have a mint mark, usually a small letter like D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or P for Philadelphia. This mint mark tells you where the coin was made. It's like the coin's little birth certificate. But in 1973, a strange thing happened. Some pennies, just a handful, were produced without a mint mark. Now, you might be thinking, wait, isn't that just a mistake? Well, sort of. But in the world of coin collecting, mistakes can mean big bucks. Imagine finding a typo in a first edition book or a misprint on a rare baseball card. That little error turns an ordinary item into a collector's dream. Same with these pennies. What makes the 1973 no-mint mark penny so valuable is that it's incredibly rare. Like, really rare. Experts believe that only about a handful of these coins ever made it into circulation. Why? Well, because the US Mint accidentally left off the mint mark on some of the 1973 pennies, and the rest were quickly corrected and stamped with the proper mark. That means most of them were sent back to be fixed, but a few lucky pennies slipped through the cracks. Now, hold on to your seats, because here comes the crazy part. Those few pennies that didn't get the mint mark can sell for a staggering $1.2 million at auction. Yes, you heard that right. A penny that you might have tossed into a wishing well or used to buy bubblegum as a kid could now be worth more than a new car. And I'm not talking about a used car. We're talking brand new, shiny, and probably even a little bit fancier than your current ride. But you might be wondering, how do I know if I have one of these elusive pennies? Well, first things first, check your 1973 pennies. Grab your magnifying glass or, just squint real hard like I do when trying to read the small print on a restaurant menu. And look for the mint mark, or rather, the lack of one. If you find a 1973 penny with no mint mark, congratulations. You might just have a treasure in your hands. But hold your horses. Before you start running to the nearest coin dealer, there are a few things you should know. First, just because a penny doesn't have a mint mark doesn't automatically make it worth $1.2 million. To be clear, only a very small number of these pennies, those in pristine, uncirculated condition, are fetching those crazy prices. So, if your penny's a little worn out, scratched up, or looking like it's been to a few too many garage sales, its value might be closer to a few $100 rather than a million. But hey, even a few $100 for a penny is still pretty good, right? I mean, I can't even remember the last time I found a penny in my couch cushions, let alone one worth a small fortune. So, if you've got a 1973 penny that's in mint condition, you're sitting on some serious cash. And if not, well, you still have a cool, historical piece of American currency that's part of a fascinating coin saga. Either way, you're in the money. I remember when I found a random old coin in my spare change a few years ago. It wasn't $1 million penny, but it sure got me excited. I took it to a local coin shop, and the guy behind the counter nearly dropped his coffee when he saw it. Turns out, it was a 1943 copper penny. Now, I didn't get anywhere near $1.2 million, but the shop offered me a nice sum for it. Long story short, I walked out of that store feeling like a total baller. It wasn't $1 million, but it was enough to buy me a dinner that didn't involve me cooking it myself. Moral of the story, even small changes can add up to something big if you keep your eyes peeled. Alright, let's wrap this up. The 1973 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is one of those hidden gems that proves just how wild and wonderful the world of coin collecting can be. It's a mistake that turned into a $1 million masterpiece, and it could very well be waiting for you to discover it. Oh, what's the takeaway? Don't just toss your loose change aside. Take a closer look. You might just have a penny that's worth more than you think. And hey, if you ever find that elusive 1973 no mint mark penny, make sure you give yourself a high five for me. And speaking of high fives, if you want to keep learning about coins worth money, strategies to grow your collection, and more amazing discoveries like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on future tips and tricks for finding rare coins. We'll be diving into even more coin treasures, and I'd love for you to be a part of it.